Honestly, this truly goes against true Holy Grace DIY fashion because I hate to admit it, guys, but normally I'm a wing it type of girl. So I'm back at the house and my job today is I have to get the flooring done here in this area where the wood stove is gonna go. They're coming on Wednesday to put the wood stove in, so I only have 2 days to get this floor done. So today my job is I'm gonna get some self-leveler down on here. So you can see the concrete is very uneven. I've decided I'm gonna be doing a brick floor. I was gonna do these tiles that I got off of Facebook Marketplace, but I just was thinking about it and I really don't like the gray tone down here for this space. So I'm gonna go with the brick floor. I have all these bricks left over from my kitchen backsplash from our old house. So that's what I'm gonna be using. But I'm gonna start here and we're gonna get the self-leveler down to level out this concrete before we lay our bricks.
Now, I've never done anything like this before and I wanted to make this as easy as possible. So I headed to Home Hardware and what they suggested for this small area was this floor leveler and patch that is already pre-mixed. It's easy to use and you just spread it out and let it set. So that's what I'm doing here, just using a large putty knife and I'm just spreading it out over the whole area where the brick floor is going to go.
So I've done the self-leveling and now I just have to do a little bit of light sanding. My spreading job wasn't the best. This was my first time working with this, so I'm hoping it's okay. I am gonna let it dry a little bit more first. Obviously, there's wet spots and stuff still, but I did just wanna show you, I've got it on. I let it dry overnight. I think maybe I went a little too thick, so I'm gonna have to wait for this to all dry, but the next step in this would be just doing light sanding just to get a little more level, and then from there we're gonna start laying our bricks.
Since I've never worked with this product before, I wanted to get a feel for how it would sand before I came in with a heavy duty sander. So I just used a loose piece of 80 grit sandpaper and did a light hand sanding just to get a feel for how the material sands down. And then once I knew I could, I came in with a orbital sander and a piece of 80 grit sandpaper to do the rest.
Okay guys, so there's still some high spots, so I'm going to be using this multi-tool to get rid of to sand down the concrete to get the high spots.
So as I was sanding, there were pieces of the bubbly concrete, I guess, well, bubbly is not the right word, but rocky, that were coming through the self-leveler. This concrete was really unlevel, so I found the multi-tool with a concrete bit and I just thought it was easier just to sand these little spots that were just poking through, almost looking like little pebbles, rather than applying more self-leveler and raising up the concrete pad. And then just to make sure that everything is actually level, I double checked with a level, just laying it on different areas of the floor, making sure that there were no high spots. I did have to sand a couple of areas down again, but everything worked out pretty well with this floor patch and leveler. And now we can move on to the next step.
So we're back at the floor and now I'm going to be laying out the pattern. I'm going to put the bricks out first, just to make sure I get the pattern correctly and I know exactly what I'm working with. Normally, I'm a just get to work kind of person and just do it without doing any of this prep work, but I've decided this is too important to just kind of wing it, so I want to make sure it's done right. And I'm glad I did, because as I started laying out my pattern here, I was just eyeballing it, and you can already see I'm starting out very straight, but the bricks are starting to go up. You see that? Like they're starting to get a little cockeyed. So I'm gonna try this little tip that I saw from another YouTube video for how to lay a brick floor. I'm gonna put some painter's tape down in a nice straight line, and then I'm gonna follow the painter's tape, and hopefully that'll keep everything nice and straight. The tape doesn't really stick to the concrete floor very well, like at all. That's gonna be a problem. I'm not really wearing the best outfit for this today. Okay, the tape isn't sticking very well. That's okay. All right, guys, I changed my shoes. I was wearing my good shoes, and I just got these cheapos from the dollar store. The problem is today, I had a lot of running around to do, so I'm wearing kind of not great clothes, but clothes I don't really want wrecked. And then I got to go to the eye doctor because I got something in my eye. Pretty sure it's paint, and it's really irritating my eye. I put some eye drops in, but it's all red and itchy, and yeah, so I don't want to get too dirty here, but I want to do something today. I don't want to leave this space without having done anything. I've done the whole outside perimeter, and now I got to figure out how I want to lay the bricks in between. So if I want to do like a herringbone pattern, which I think I may be biting off more than I can chew with that. I think it would look really cool. But I don't think I'm interested in doing all that measurement and work. So maybe I'll just do the typical like brick lay. These bricks are going, well, if you're looking at it this way, these bricks are going vertical, and then those ones are gonna go horizontal. So let's start laying them out and see what we come up with. Today is the day we are going to be laying down the brick floor where the wood stove is going to go. So I have laid out my pattern here. I've arranged all the bricks just to make sure everything will fit. And honestly, this truly goes against true Holly Grace DIY fashion, because I hate to admit it, guys, but normally I'm a wing it type of girl where we just start and go with it. But I thought to myself, no, you know what, Holly, this is your forever home. You want to do this properly. Lay out the bricks, make sure everything fits, and make sure everything works so you know exactly what you're doing. Because to be honest, guys, I've done a brick backsplash, but I've never done a brick floor. So we're learning together here. So I've watched a few videos on YouTube. Hopefully I get everything right. I've done a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of watching, and I think we're ready to go. Hot little tip, guys, before we start. I went into Home Depot to get my thin set mortar. The bags are about $17 each, and somebody at Home Depot was like, well, what are you doing? And I told him about the area that I'm doing, and he's like, you know what? Take one of these. And they have these bags here that are 50% off because they got split open on the pallet. So it's probably about, he said, it's a little over half a bag full. And they put them in these powder pouches, but you get them for 50% off. So this bag only cost me $8 $8 for this bag. And he said, you probably won't even use all that. So, money saving tip there when you're going to buy stuff. If you're just doing a small project, see if they have any ripped open bags.
To mix my mortar, I followed the manufacturer's instructions on the back of the bag. I did, however, break my rule here, and I wasn't thinking, and I put the powder in the bucket first and then the water. Try not to do that. It's so much easier if you add the water to the bottom of the bucket and then the powder into the water. And then I have this mixing attachment here that I just attached to my drill that makes mixing easier. Now you can measure out amounts, but I like to just add little bits at a time to get the right consistency. And what we're going for here is like a cake batter peanut butter consistency. With our first bit of mortar all mixed up, we're going to go ahead and apply it to the floor. Now it's better if you work in smaller patches, so just mix up what you need to do a small patch and then remix. You don't want the mortar setting on you. So I apply it onto the concrete floor and then I use a notch trowel to drag through the mortar to create those ridges and furrows, and then I applied my bricks. Now you want to do something that's called back buttering. So you take each brick, you apply a little mortar to the back of it, and then you push it into the mortar on the floor. Back buttering is very important, so you want to make sure you don't forget that step. And then you're just going to continue working along in small sections, mixing up more mortar as you go and applying your bricks. Because I pre-laid out my pattern, it's super easy just to go and grab right where I am and lay all the mortar and finish this floor.
Okay, so it has been about 2 days since I laid the brick floor. I gave the mortar about 2 days to set before I do the grout. Made sure everything is in place, everything's solid. And now we're gonna mix up the grout and finish this floor. So let's get started. So if you've never done a floor before or any kind of backsplash or tile work, just in case you didn't know, you can get grout in different colors. So the color that I've decided to go with for this is called Bone. I didn't want white grout, obviously, because this is gonna be a wood stove area, but I didn't want anything dark either. So I'm hoping the Bone will be a nice creamy beige. It'll kind of complement the walls a bit. And I just didn't want any stark white down here. So we're gonna mix up this Bone color of grout. All right, and guys, when you're mixing your grout, you always start with water first. You pour the powder grout into the water, not the other way around. That just makes sure that you don't get any like little bits stuck in the pail. It's just easier this way. Now, you can measure if you want, but I just start mixing. And it's better just to do up a little bit at a time. You can also buy pre-mixed grout if you want, just to make your life easier. So guys, we want the consistency of our grout to be like smooth cake batter or like peanut butter. So I think we got it pretty good there. Now you guys also want to let your grout sit for 3 to 5 minutes just to let it flash. So we're going to let that sit. We're going to get this ready and get grouty.
To apply my grout, I used a putty knife, pushing it into the bricks, and then I spread it out over the bricks with a rubber float. I went with this method because it was easier to do, and as well, these bricks are left over from a previous project, so I wasn't overly happy with the color for this space, and I'm hoping that by spreading the grout over the bricks, it'll change the color just a bit to a tone that's more suited for this space. For a cleaner look, you could use a piping bag and pipe it directly into the grooves in between each brick. So if you want that cleaner look, I'm just going to quickly show you the method here just in case you want to follow this one instead. So you would just grab like a disposable piping bag. You can get these in any baking section at any home goods store, and you just fill it with the grout just as you would if you were icing a cake, but instead of icing we have grout in here. You cut off the tip and then you squeeze it into the cracks between each brick. Now there is a tool that you can use to smooth it out. It's called a brick joiner. I'm going to pop that up on the screen here. So if you're following this method, I suggest you get the brick joiner, and then you would just smooth that through the cracks to smooth out the grout, and then you would continue doing this along each brick. But I'm going to go back to my other method, but I just wanted to show you guys this just in case you like that cleaner look. You can follow this method instead. In some spots, it was hard to get the rubber float to push the grout all the way down in between the bricks, so I did switch to a metal trowel and I just pushed it in. And then once you have all the grout on top of the bricks in a small section, you're going to take a clean wet sponge and then you're just going to rub it along the grout to really push it down into those lines and then clear off most of the grout. We don't want to leave all the grout on, we just want to leave a small little bit behind. So I did this method working in between back and forth with the metal trowel and then the wet sponge to spread all the grout around. Here's a halfway progress shot for you. I really wasn't loving the red tone in these bricks. I wanted to keep everything as creamy, beige, and light as possible down here. So I did decide to go over with another skim coat of grout. And then after that had set, I came in with some soap and water and cleaned it up just a little bit to remove some of the haze. After using the sponge with the soap and water, I came in as well with a hard bristled broom just to make sure I really cleaned it up really well. And then after the broom, I just used plain water just to remove the haze from the soap and make sure that there was no soap residue on the bricks. So just clean warm water and gave that a good rub down with a sponge. And then this is the finished floor. So you can see here we've got the wood stove installed. Now I do have to finish around the wood stove as well, but I'm not quite sure what I'm going to be doing on the walls yet. So stay tuned for that, and I have lots of great other projects coming up. We have a whole house to put back together since our house fire, so I really hope that you will hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the next video. See you next time, guys.